Thank you very much indeed, and welcome to the Billy Graham Overflow meeting. Or something. Tonight, trends, and indeed trendsetters. A trendsetter is an anarchist without a cause. He's a Sunday night guest for Eamon, a jukebox jurist for David, a ready, steady goer for Catholic Kathy, and if times are hard, a 5 o'clock clubber for Ollie and Fred. Trends make everything change. A Batman used to be a servant, now he's a Superman. The Conservatives got back into power under an assumed name. Words change. Thick now means stupid. Sunday colour supplements get thicker. Values A Prime Minister can now earn more than some pop singers. As one little girl doing her homework said, "Mummy, what's 9pence and 6pence? Is it 1 and 3 or has it gone up?" The anti-hero is in fashion, the man who joins a woman to forget the Foreign Legion. Perhaps that's why there's been such a trend towards health clubs and athletic pursuits like judo or even more karate.
Silence, please, ladies and gentlemen, while the groom cuts the cake.
The world... The world has gone trend or fashion mad. In the old days, it was only in clothes that you had to have a new fashion twice a year. Now it's everything. A new philosophy, a new attitude to religion, a new author every month. And manufacturers love it too, of course. Every time a fashion goes out, they cash in. And it works. A man buying a New Testament tried to get it cheaper by trading in his Old Testament. The result of all this is we have new trends in everything, particularly television. So this idea of television in the car is very dangerous. A friend of ours was driving down the M1 at 80 miles an hour watching Coronation Street. When the commercials came on, he automatically got up and went out to make the tea. Some programs, of course, resist trends. Even those old favourites, the Grove family, are still going strong. A little older now, perhaps, and renamed the Munsters, but still going strong. Thanks to another current trend, the governor of Parkhurst Prison, for instance, goes to sleep every night by counting prisoners jumping over the wall. Everybody is influenced by fashion.
We now come to the late Mr. Grigsby's bequests. All rights and royalties from his commercial television program will pass to his wife, Mrs. Grigsby, while the residuals from sales of books and all games based on the program will go to his son. As for the remainder, it is to be divided among his relatives in the fashion which Mr. Grigsby has made so much his very own. And so to that end, first, Aunt Agatha. Aunt Agatha, for £20,000, who wrote Gone with the Wind?
There's no doubt that a little of the romance has gone out of family life. This is the Express, for instance. Mrs. Margaret Jones told magistrates yesterday, "I never neglect my baby. I take him to the pictures 3 times a week." Or to quote the News of the World, a judge, in fact, "Love is a word we have got to be very careful about." in certain connections, it has a sexual significance. There's no doubt that these concerns are everywhere. As one hen said to another in the farmyard, "Here comes that cross-eyed rooster, we'd better separate or he might miss both of us." We felt that our roving reporters would have their own views on what were the television programs and the trendy words to use and so on. And as you'll see, that I stayed listening to two young ladies in particular. And which television programs do you watch?
I watch Japanese.
Japanese? What's that?
She means she's watching it on telly. Because I have saw Japanese on Sunday on telly, but I saw it one Sunday, and that's why I like it now, because I thought they were Japanese or China. They're like Japanese, yes, aren't they? Because China like that and Japanese.
Sorry, what are they like? Yeah.
I think China like that and Japanese like that.
And where do you see these Japanese and Chinese on television?
Yes.
In what?
A Japanese program. A Chinese program. Could have good television.
It was one or the other, was it? Was it on BBC or ITV?
I think it was on BBC. Do you? I think it was on ITV. I don't know, Paula. I'm sure it was on BBC. BBC, yeah.
And what's your favourite... Do you have a favourite word? What's your favourite word?
Japanese. That is my favourite word. And China. Japanese. They're the new Elsie and Doris Waters. We still don't know what the programme was, though. With trends becoming so powerful, perhaps people might obey notices better on places like trains and so on if they were phrased more in the language of the trendy 60s. And we read on trains, what with it people are not leaning out of is the window. And fun gentlemen are lifting the seat this year. In films, the big new trend is going to be that film called The Bible, which lasts 8 hours. The Bible will not be screened in movie theatres, but a copy of it will be shown in every hotel room in the country. And it'll be shown in cinemas too. There are going to be 3 prices of admission. One for people over 16, one for people under 16, and one for people who become 16 during the performance. The film apparently is a colourful spectacle for the eye, an exciting revelation for the ear, and a fantastic challenge for the kidneys. It's amazing, though, really, that these biblical films should have become a trend again. In that incident, John Cleese, for instance, has just played the part of St. Peter in a television play in New York. He spent weeks as St. Peter thinking holy thoughts, and weeks wearing robes and things, and so on. And on the day of the show, he was being driven to the studio, and a New York taxi ran into the front of his car. And the taxi driver came over and said the vilest things to John's driver. So John got out in his flowing white robes, walked over and said unto him, "Go forth and multiply." Or words to that effect. In the world of trends, it's sometimes disconcerting, of course, to come face to face with a really trendy man who really knows what's what. Gin and tonic, please.
Ferrets.
I beg your pardon?
Ferrets.
Ferrets what?
No. No, ferrets are the latest trend.
Oh, so ferrets are the latest trend, are they?
Exactly.
Why are ferrets the latest trend?
Because I've got 50,000 ferrets, which I bought very cheap. And in order to make myself enormous quantities of money, I'm going to sell them at a simply staggering profit. But nobody is going to buy these nasty, smelly, revolting little creatures unless they're a trend.
So you are making them a trend?
Exactly.
See how quick I am?
We're going to present famous people with ferrets.
Really?
Would you like a ferret?
Well, I don't think I'm famous enough.
Oh, jolly bad luck. Well, why don't you ask me something else about how I'm making ferrets popular?
I'd like to ask you something else about why you're making ferrets popular.
Well, I'm opening 8 ferret clubs in the West End, with the girls all dressed up, and they come to your table and they say, "Hello, I'm your ferret for the evening." And then they serve you with griddled ferret, ferret burgers, ferret in a basket, ferret fingers, boiled eggs.
Ferret's eggs?
No, ordinary eggs.
Right.
For people who don't like ferrets. And ferret wine. Simply a delicious, sparkling new wine that we make ourselves. One difficulty at the moment, labor shortage. Awfully difficult to get enough people to tread the ferrets. Of course, it's a very noisy job.
If I'm any judge of this, this is bound to catch on.
Oh, goodness me, yes. Really, in people are having ferret parties.
Is that...
You see, you take your ferret to the party, and then you throw it at someone. You keep your ferret in your ferret pocket here. Here, let me show you something.
Stop it. Stop poking me in the eye with a ferret.
But it's a trend.
Really?
Yes, poking people in the eye with a ferret is a trend. Poke a person in the eye with a ferret a day, I always say.
Might I try it?
Yes, please.
I don't know if I'll master it.
Isn't it fun?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's very stimulating.
Hello, Tim.
Hello, George.
Good evening.
Look, this is the most marvelous fun. It's the very latest.
You're not still on that old thing, are you? That went out weeks ago. This is all the rage now, old boy. Look
Perhaps the saddest aspect of this age of trend setting has been the despoiling of the Union Jack into things like op-art sweatshirts. The other day, a girl in Chelsea went out with a young subaltern from the colonies. She thought he was trying to seduce her, but when she slipped out of her dress, all he did was salute. Imperialism is universally out, in fact. I mean, a coffee planter friend of ours tells us how distressed he was to see "British Go Home" written on a wall, especially as he was in Hounslow at the time. Of course, some people do resist trends. A member of the team who's an artist only paints still lifes. He's just done 4 British seamen. Not that the politicians are any better off. If they bow to the new fashion and allow television into the Commons, they're going to have to change too. They're going to have to do something, for instance, to brighten up all those boring old speeches, for a start.
I think I should start this morning by singing
Great songs of our country.
I say it's gonna be easy, it's not.
I believe that we can do it.
You know, and our friends in the country know, that this is altogether a different problem.
How is this problem going to be solved?
The way will be hard, and it will take time.
And I beg you to remember the Prime Minister's words.
There will be great efforts required. There'll be sacrifices required.
A challenge to bring about new attitudes and new practices.
Together, you and I and our colleagues.
There is no other way.
We simply, in this situation, couldn't do more than we have done.
Of course, it's not only politicians who are subject to trends, to fashion, to change. So is life itself, including Miss Julie Feely.
To
everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven.
Dennis Norden was talking about another trend when he observed in a recent speech that every suggestive or controversial remark heard on television now seems to spawn an entirely new pressure group. Or as he put it, every little meaning has a movement all its own. A movement like, for instance, the League of Television Decency.
Good evening. Now, tonight in the studio we have the chairman of the League of Television Decency, Mr. Whitefoot. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, Mr. Whitefoot, I understand that the purpose of your campaign is, in fact, to clean up television.
Yes, we take exception most strongly to some of the double entendre and suggestive dialogue in BBC plays, for example.
Now, would you like to give us an example?
Yes, willingly. The other night, a character was heard to say, and I quote, "Look here."
Yes?
Well, that's all. Look here.
Well, that sounds perfectly harmless to me.
Well, it depends on which way you look at it, doesn't it? I mean, to me, look here suggests, look here through this keyhole at this young female person divesting herself of her clothing.
Well, I must admit, I haven't seen it in that light myself.
Well, that's what I immediately thought of, this young female person of the opposite sex, divesting herself of her clothing, standing there, revealed in her flimsy undergarments, with her bosom throbbing through the thin cotton of this. I mean, isn't that what any decent person would think?
Can you perhaps give us some further examples?
Yes, I can. In a play only last week, which was watched by millions, a character was seen to pick up a telephone.
Well?
Well, don't you see? Don't you see the erotic imagery contained in that gesture?
An ordinary telephone?
Yes, of the type used by certain sick people. And take my word for it, they are sick, they are mentally sick. Sick! The sort of people who phone up young female persons and breathe down the phone at them and say terrible remarks, to wit, George is being unfaithful to you.
George?
George, that's her husband, George.
But to return to the play, I mean, surely no such event took place.
Didn't it? No, it didn't. Something much worse than that took place. The actor was heard to say, and I have it written down here somewhere. The actor was heard to say, "Hello."
Well?
Yes. Makes one blanch, doesn't it? Visibly. I blanched visibly. Hello, he said. And we all know what that meant, don't we?
Well, what did it mean?
It meant, hello, what have we here? Surely it's a young female person divesting herself of her... with her proud bosom thrusting up to... I have the headaches, you know. I have to...
Mr. Whitefoot, surely such remarks would only offend a small number of people.
Exactly, that's what the BBC do. They go out of their way to offend minorities. I mean, look at some of the suggestive titles they have for some of their programs.
For example?
Well, Quick Before They Catch Us. United. Blue Peter. The Bar Festival. Two-way family favorites. Watch with Mother.
Mr. Whitefoot, the BBC wouldn't intend to hurt anyone. Wouldn't you agree, surely, that evil is in the eye of the beholder?
Exactly, evil is in the eye of the beholder. But you've got to know what you're looking for.
Mr. Ronnie Barker and Mr. Ronnie Corbett. Heroes today are downtrodden figures in Scruffy Max, Michael Caine in the Ipcress File, Richard Burton in The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, and Harold Wilson in Number 10 Downing Street. Or as Ian Smith said the other day, there are 2 races in Africa and I intend to win both of them. Looking at the political aspect, can you imagine what the trend away from purely nationalistic thinking did, for instance, to flagpole manufacturers? That's one of the saddest things of a successful trend. In order to make way for it, something else has to go. I mean, just think of how many cosy and familiar objects are becoming extinct because of new trends. Collar studs, bus tickets with punch holes in, sock suspenders, and what about turn-up fluff? And Vera Lynn, to name but a few. I mean, let's consider there are other venerable and respected products that have been replaced by new trends in styling and packaging. I mean, ballpoint pens have taken the place of pen nibs. Aerosol tins of shaving cream have taken the place of shaving brushes. Henry Miller has taken the place of asterisks. David Kossoff has taken the place of the Old Testament. A trend to welcome, though, I suppose, is the current fashion to slapstick silent comedy, but equally a trend to loathe is the addition of those unspeakable commentaries.
When knockabout was king, fun was the thing. And that silent slapstick star, Shorty Sherman, washing up all keyed up because he's making up to Susie LeSueur, which burns up Chubby Harbottle. Shorty's feeling effervescent, but did you ever see him that he effervescent? Sad to think, by the way, that Shorty, a miserably lonely man in real life, was soon to end it all by throwing himself under Oliver Hardy. Ouch. Hey, by the time Chubby's paid for all those broken plates, he'll be as flat-busted as Katharine Hepburn. You know, this speedy, sappy, silly, spontaneous silent screen sequence certainly symbolizes the special Senate style. The freshness and the boldness, the action and the tempo, the actress and the bishop. Hey, what am I saying? Watch the next bit now as the manager comes in and gets hit with a puck. That isn't customary. No, it's Huckleberry. You know, it's sad to think that Chubby Harbottle was soon to be involved in a sordid vice scandal which brought his career to a tragic and messy end. This is what they laughed at 53 years and 2 bloody world wars ago. Hey, the manager's coming back, played by Pismo Grilch, an actor who suffered from heart trouble, and this unrehearsed shot was his last ever. Well, we've gone back through time for the fun time of a lifetime in old-time, ragtime Hollywood. Sad to think that the sherry in that trifle was to send poor Susie LeSueur on the long downward slide into alcoholism. Bye now.
And that's trends, really, with not a mention of Time magazine, with new inventions adding to the trends all the time. A Birmingham man has invented a razor blade that lasts a lifetime. Next of kin have been informed. And Alexander Graham Bell would have invented the telephone 10 years sooner if he could have got his wife off it. And that's this series of the Frost Report, too. Thank you for making it as exciting a 13 weeks as we could have had. Until our next series, we leave you with trends. As the necklines get lower and lower, the skirts get higher and higher. One middle-aged man summed it up when he said, "I don't know where it's all leading to." But I want to be there when it happens. Thank you very much indeed, and welcome to the Billy Graham Overflow meeting. Or something. Tonight, trends, and indeed trendsetters. A trendsetter is an anarchist without a cause. He's a Sunday night guest for Eamon, a jukebox jurist for David, a ready, steady goer for Catholic Kathy. And if times are hard, a 5 o'clock clubber for Ollie and Fred. Trends make everything change. A Batman used to be a servant, now he's a Superman. The Conservatives got back into power under an assumed name. Words change. Thick now means stupid. Sunday colour supplements get thicker. Values disappear. A Prime Minister can now earn more than some pop singers. As one little girl doing her homework said, "Mummy, what's 9pence and 6pence? Is it 1 and 3 or has it gone up?" The anti-hero is in fashion, the man who joins a woman to forget the Foreign Legion. Perhaps that's why there's been such a trend towards health clubs and athletic pursuits like judo or even more karate.
Told you, man!